Before we get started with the hands-on RAG application, the overview, let's take a look at the individual concepts or the steps that we will need to take and then build it with the knowledge base. All right, so we'll start off with a user here, and there's a query. And in this case, who is the data science trainer at CBT Nuggets? And normally this would go straight into a foundation model. But imagine if the foundation model doesn't know, it may not be able to create the response. And that's where RAG comes in with Amazon Bedrock, because it allows foundation models to reference a data source outside of its training. So let's create that here. So first we drop in a PDF into this S3 bucket. So what happens is that the knowledge base will take this prompt, and let's say KB for knowledge base. And this knowledge base behind the scenes uses a vector database. I'm just going to say vector DB. And what happens inside of this knowledge base is a fully managed vector database that does indexing and chunking, because we have to take the PDF that might be several pages and then turn them into chunks that the model can use. So in this case, this would be trainer 1, trainer 2, trainer 3, because this is a complete PDF of all the trainers and their domain. And so we don't have to do anything like that in the Amazon S3 bucket. Instead, we pass that to the knowledge base, and since it's fully managed, it will do that for us. And it'll be living inside of this vector database, which is part of the knowledge base. So let's go back to the beginning. So we query, who is a trainer CBT Nuggets? It goes to the knowledge base and then back out with that information. And then it gives it to the foundation model. So this is going to now be a query plus retrieval, right? So that's where the R in RAG comes from, retrieval augmented generation. So it's augmenting the query by generating new text using the retrieval method. And that retrieval method is right here, when it makes that detour before it goes into the foundation model. And then finally, when you get that response, you're going to get a response that is based on this new information that the foundation model probably didn't know. And if it didn't know, it might say, hey, I don't know. That information is not available. I'm sorry, or something like that. Or it might just say something that's not true. So this is very powerful and very useful for specific use cases in a business production setting. So next, make sure that you are in the AWS console and that you are in US East 1, and then search for attention is all you need. You can use whatever search engine you like. I use the Brave browser, and this is the built-in search. If I click on this, here is the PDF. Once that's downloaded, let's go ahead and click on Amazon Bedrock, or type it in the search. And we want to go down here to build and then click on knowledge bases. And just keep in mind that up here is a really interesting little banner introducing S3 vectors as a vector store. So you might be able to use that for RAG applications in the very near future. But for now, we're going to click on chat with your document, and let's go ahead and select a model. Okay, let's use Anthropic, and let's use version 1. It might be a little cheaper, so Sonnet 3.5. And here, let's keep all of this defaults for now. You could add a guardrail as well. You could fine tune this if you wanted to as well, and then save that as a custom model, and then pick that custom model for your RAG application. And here you can handle how the model uses the user's prompt. So if we click on edit, you can change this. You are a question answering agent. I will provide you with a set of search results. The user will provide you with a question, and it goes on. So you could update this and then experiment with that. Let's go back to this dialog, and now let's go to choose your data. So we're going to upload that attention is all you need PDF. And now that we've uploaded our document, we can use this as a mini knowledge base. All right, so let's test this out. So we could also add a guardrail. We'll do that very soon. So here we have a dialog where you can enter the prompt, shift enter to start a new line, or you can hit send. Okay, so here I'm going to ask it, what is a quesadilla? And this is where we're going to add a guardrail, but let's see what it says. And this is what you would expect. And this is great because it says, sorry, I'm unable to assist you with this request. And that makes sense because there's nothing about a quesadilla in the attention is all you need white paper. Now we can ask it a real question like, what is the attention mechanism. Now we get the output that we're expecting. Let me go back up here. All right, so let's go all the way to the beginning. The attention mechanism is a key component of the transformer model architecture. And correctly, it's going to continue and continue. But now look at this. So if I click on this, the output is computed as a weight, and it kind of gives you this information. And where does this information come from? When you click on details, it shows you all of the chunks. So you remember we're talking about chunking. So this is source chunk 1, source chunk 2, 3, and 4. And this all comes from the PDF. So you can see exactly where it comes from. So that is a RAG application, and we uploaded the document, but you can also use it with a knowledge base. So a knowledge base, let's go over that together right now. Instead of directly uploading it, you can also use a knowledge base. In order to do that, you would need to, instead of just uploading from your computer, in this case, I'm using a laptop, you would need to use an S3 bucket. Let me show you the difference. So let's go back up here. So here's chat with your document. This is a good way to test out the RAG application to see if it's going to work for you, or check out the documentation, which is very helpful. I mean, maybe you could even take the documentation and put it in here to help you understand the best way to build a RAG application with Amazon Bedrock. But that's outside of the scope of this video. So clicking on knowledge bases, so we would click on create, and in here you would use the knowledge base with a vector store, and then you have these other options. Here you can just give it a name and a description, which is optional, and then we're going to create and use a new service role. And this is very important because it creates an IAM permission that's needed to handle this RAG application. And then you would choose your data source. And here you get to choose not only from an S3 bucket, but as we discussed, you can use Confluence, Salesforce, SharePoint, even a web page, or a data source directly in Amazon Bedrock. So it has a lot of options. We're going to leave S3 bucket there. And here is where you would need to create an S3 bucket. And once you do, you can browse or view and then add that name. And once you add that name, you can also change the chunking strategy to better fit your data, and then you click next. In this case, I have not entered an S3 bucket, but once you do, then you'll have a RAG application using a knowledge base. And furthermore, you can look inside of the knowledge base vector database, and you can see indexing and the different chunks. And we saw those chunks when we were looking at the RAG application overview, where we were just chatting with the document. So this extra step is how you create a RAG application using a knowledge base with Amazon Bedrock.